Good evening, San Dimas. It's good to see a full house. This is an important process in every city, and we saw what a process it was in the general election not too recently. So this is an important thing that you're doing this evening, to make time to come out and listen to your candidates. As Amber said, and I'll repeat it, is the Chamber's goal to keep the forum as impartial as possible. Therefore, tonight's primary Chamber volunteers reside outside the city limits. We do not endorse any candidate, yet we always look forward to having a great working relationship with the mayor and the council members and planning commissioners and staff members at City Hall. And now I would like to introduce the volunteers that are going to be helping us this evening. With us as timekeepers, we have Jerry Gardner, Realty One Group Masters. Jerry. Scott Hay, Exciting Windows by Design. And we also have our question screeners, but I wanted to emphasize something. All the questions that you were writing as you came in, those are the only questions the candidates will see. There's been no other questions that were developed in the past, and not just this chamber, other chambers, the executive committee, the board of directors develop questions. In this regard, all questions are coming fresh. And Sherry has assured me, right, Sherry? That nobody saw the question. So I just want to assure the candidates and the audience that that's the process. So questions screeners for this evening are Sherry Panzer, attorney at law. Sherry. And Sherry Fernandez, Complete Marketing Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the way we've done these forums, and this one in particular, the candidates were called up at front and they basically pulled numbers in terms of the seating order, basically starting with the mayor, who will have opening statements. So each candidate will have an opening statement of 2 minutes. After we're done with the opening statements, then we'll start the question and answer, and they'll go 1 minute for that response. At that time, candidates, your timekeepers are right there. They'll raise the 2 minutes, starting 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then 15 seconds, and then stop. When they get to 5 seconds, actually when they hit stop, I will let you finish your thought or your sentence. But if you keep talking, just so you know, I will say, thank you, Mr. Morris, or thank you, Mr. Bearse, and then basically Bearse. And that basically is a signal for you to stop. So at this time, I'm going to start with the Mayor Kurt Morris. Mayor, you have 2 minutes opening statement.
Good evening, and thank all of you for being here. I have been the mayor of San Dimas for 21 years, and fortunately, I do not have an opponent for the election this year. I would just like to tell you a few things. I personally believe that San Dimas is a very well-governed and well-managed city. I think we get great results in the city with our budget. Our budget process is very conservative. We do have a process, and this is determined by the city council. We have a policy of maintaining a reserve equal to 78% of our annual operating budget. You ask why 78%? I think it was at the time we had a 78% reserve, and that seemed about right, so we decided that was a good target. That could go up or it can go down. Many cities have a lot smaller reserves. A lot of cities have quite a bit more. But it's always been the feeling of the San Dimas City Council that we need to spend the money. We need to have reserves because that's prudent, but we need to spend the money for investing in the community. There are a couple of just numbers. We get a report from the city manager periodically, and I just to give you an idea of how San Dimas is doing, we have in a total number of retail businesses. Laverne has 877, Claremont has 1,149, and San Dimas has 1,280. Our assessed value is higher than any of the cities around. This is it. I have a sheet back on the back that if you would like to take a look at it, it's there, that has this in detail, but we are doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Ramirez, 2-minute opening statement.
Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Emma Ramirez, and the first thing I get, I'm running for city council, and the first thing people ask me when I run is, why are you running? And I've been a longtime resident of San Dimas, over 15 years. I am a proud mom of 2 great sons, both Army veterans, and I've lived here long enough where I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. And San Dimas is not bad, but it needs a little air of fresh air. It's like when you live in a house. You live in a house you buy a house in 1960. I guarantee you, if you bought a house in 1960, you've painted that house at least once or twice, or aired it out, changed the windows, did a little bit. So what I bring to the city council is balance, working with government, working on huge budgets, having to come in on deadlines. I have vision, and I have the ability to make that vision work for this city. It's like a tool bag. You bring everything you have, and I bring business. I worked for a Fortune 500 company where I was in charge from west of the Mississippi, and I guaranteed you my budget was on time every day. And there was no, oops, I made a mistake. There is no mistake. So especially when dealing in all the issues we have coming up as a rising city. We have the train issues. We have the Wilderness Committee, which I have dear to heart and I worked on, and that's what got me interested in getting involved in city council. So I am that fresh of air, I am the paint on the wall, and I'm a strong activist, and I really believe that we can make San Dimas not just great, but fantastic, and make it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. Mr. Bearse, 2-minute opening statement.
Hi, guys. My name is Patrick Bearse. First of all, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I want to thank people on the stage for running for city council. It's a big public, it's a big commitment, a lot of family time lost when you're doing this, so I commend everybody up here for running for public service, and it's a tough thing to do. And I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. It's good for you guys to be able to hear what the candidates bring to the table and get to know us, and I think this is a great event. A little bit about myself. My name is Patrick Bearse. Married with 5 beautiful children, and the 2 youngest ones are here in the audience. 4-year-old twins keep me pretty busy. And by profession, I'm a police officer. Been a lieutenant with Los Angeles County Sheriff Department. Been with the Sheriff Department for 30 years. I'm currently managing our air support unit with a fiscal budget of roughly around $11 million. I supervise 100 full-time employees, pretty similar to the same size as San Dimas. Prior to my air support job, I was a SWAT commander for 6 years. Where I managed the nation's largest full-time SWAT unit, and there's a lot of responsibility and a lot of leadership that comes with that role. One of my passions in life is I'm a coach. I'm a football coach. I believe in our youth as a foundation for our society. So football, to me, is a way of teaching and mentoring young men and teaching them how to be productive and a part of our society. So that's a passion I do. I've been doing that for 18 years here in our local Pop Warner program. My wife supports me in my endeavor. My family and friends do. My wife's a member of the Sheriff's Department as well. She's a sergeant on our department. Has been on the department for 20 years. So we're a family committed to public service. And with me, you get strong leadership, fresh ideas, and fresh blood. And I really think the city could use someone like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bearse. Mr. Bertone, your opening statement, 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is Denis Bertone, and I would like to thank the Chamber for holding this event. San Dimas is a great place to live. I think we all know that. And it's not because of one individual. It's because San Dimas is a town of volunteers. We have many organizations in this city that volunteer thousands of hours. 4 of them I'd like to talk about. One happens to be the Historical Society. We have a historical society that is the envy of the entire San Gabriel Valley. They run a museum, they run a gift shop, they do tours. Another one happens to be the Festival of Arts. Besides putting on 2 shows a year, they have donated 6 public art projects to the city, one costing over $100,000. Another one happens to be the Chamber of Commerce that puts on a lot of events. The Chamber has a memorandum of understanding with the city, but the people that work the Chamber are all volunteers. And the other is the Sheriff's Booster Club. There's over 100 volunteers that volunteer for our sheriff's station. Now, besides these, there's many other organizations. I happen to be very active in 2 of these groups, the Chamber and also in the San Dimas Festival of Arts. Outside of the community, there's the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, which is the chief lobbying organization for the community. I must sit on their board of directors. The Gold Line is coming to San Dimas. If we want it or not, it's going to go through San Dimas because it's going to Claremont. And I think I sit on the Joint Powers Authority, and I think we need someone there that can control what's going to happen in the city of San Dimas. Another important thing about the city, I see we're running out of time, is that we cooperate with the school district. You cannot have a first-class city if you do not have first-class schools, and we have first-class schools. We work closely with the school district, and I think we do an excellent job. The quiet zones is also an important issue. The city is working with Metro to develop quiet zones. There's 6 of them in the city of San Dimas. For it's a matter for the people that live next to the track, it's really annoying to have this horn go off day and night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. I'd like to remind the candidates, I've just been told, try to speak into your microphone when you're speaking, I guess sometimes, so try to keep it close as you're answering the questions. Mrs. Green, 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. I'm Margie Green, and I'm looking for your support to be your next city councilman. I've spent many years as a volunteer in the city of San Dimas, many years volunteering for the city and other organizations within the town to make the community a better community. I believe it is important to know your community to pave the way for the future. I've been active in San Dimas for many years, and that sets me apart from some of the other candidates because of all my volunteer work. I'm running for San Dimas to be your voice for the future of San Dimas. Together, we can make a difference. I've lived in San Dimas since 1975. My name is synonymous with volunteer service around town, and it's reflected in some of the honors I've won. Last week, I was told I am 2017 Woman of Distinction Award for representing San Dimas from Assemblyman Chris Holden. I've also been honored with U.S. Congresswoman Grace Napolitano's Woman of the Year 2013, San Dimas Citizen of the Year 2002, LA County Fair Community Hero 2002. I'm an artist by profession and a previous small business owner in San Dimas. I have volunteered time and effort to promote San Dimas businesses, the arts, historical nonprofits. I am currently a member of the Planning Commission. I'm on the Board of Directors for McKinley Children's Home. I'm on the Board of Directors and a past president for the San Dimas Historical Society. I'm a past commissioner for Parks and Recreation. I'm past chairman of the board for the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce, about a 30-year member there. I believe it is important to know your community in order to serve back and do the best that you can for the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. Mr. Vienna, 2-minute opening statement.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight. Thank my wife and my family that have been supporters through this entire process. It's been rather fascinating. I grew up here in town, lifelong resident, and you know, it's funny when you think about what you're going to say in these remarks. I'm a sergeant with the LA County Sheriff's Department. I've been there over 10 years. What I do there is I'm assigned to a unit that does public transparency investigations. And it's kind of why I'm running for council, one of many reasons why. Anybody that's had an experience with the planning department knows it's very difficult to work with. And as a matter of fact, when we talk about public transparency, just by show of hands, what candidates prepared remarks tonight or did not? Let's say, who did not prepare remarks tonight? Any other candidates? Is that you guys? Because my point in that is very simple. The Chamber of Commerce hosts this debate, and Councilman Bertone and Margie Green are ambassadors and members of the Chamber. As a matter of fact, he's a board of director for the Chamber. And it's a little odd to me that the three other candidates that are not affiliated with the Chamber weren't aware that you could prepare opening statement remarks and have notes here. But, that's one reason I'm running. I hope to bring some more accountability and transparency to our city. 75% of it is outstanding. There's a 25% increment that I think we can do a heck of a lot better. I'd love for your vote. I'd love for your support, and submit those questions, because I think it could be a very interesting night tonight. Thank you.
Now we've come to the portion that you've been waiting for, the question and answer. So I have a really tough question starting it out. We just had the Grammy Awards, so would it be Adele or Beyonce who you'd vote for? No, I'm kidding. I needed to just throw that one in, sorry. So we're going to have 1 minute responses for these questions. I'm going to try to, some of these questions are a bit long, so I'm going to try to, make it a little bit more understandable. So, Anthony Portantino, who's just won the state senate, is on record as saying he will go after Prop 13 and its protection of small business. Will you go on the record and state that you will fight to keep Prop 13 intact, and how will you do that? And that question goes to you, Mrs. Ramirez, 1 minute. And if you want me to repeat the question, I'd be happy to. Sure. Anthony Portantino, who just won the state senate seat, is on record as saying he will go after Prop 13 and its protection of small business. Will you go on the record and state that you will fight for Prop 13 to keep Prop 13 intact, and how will you do that? 1 minute.
I am for small business. Besides, prior to running for San Dimas City Council, I have a small business, so I believe in small business. And one of my platforms in running for city council was to bring small business, or bring back San Dimas, downtown San Dimas, revitalize it, bring back business. And I think we need small business. Big companies are good, but small business is what makes it every day. The mom and pop stores are the ones that gives us opportunity to bring commerce back to a city like San Dimas and make it a better place, or a night place, give it more nightlife or life overall, for us to sustain our quality of life in San Dimas.
Thank you. Mr. Bearse, you want the same question? Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I'm good. As what Emma said, I think small business in America is the heartbeat of America. That's, major corporations play a role, but I think small business needs to be supported. And based even on the numbers that the mayor threw out, I would think that we're doing a poor job in supporting our small businesses. And I know that from talking to them. I've talked to small business owners, and they're struggling. They want help. They need help, and the city has an obligation, in my opinion, to support them and to help them market themselves, to make them more consumer-friendly and allow customer base to increase in our small businesses, because I think without them, we fail as a city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bertone, would you like
Yes,
to repeat it?
well, I support Proposition 13. There may need to be some changes, but the retail business in San Dimas is very strong, and the sales tax is our #1 source of income for our general fund, which is $22 million, and the sales tax is 30% of that. And as the mayor said, San Dimas has over 400 more retail businesses than the city of Laverne, and over 100 more than the city of Claremont. And I don't know how you can say we're not doing well by our small businesses. An example would be the awnings that we put in for small businesses. The city covered 60% of that, and the owners of the businesses covered 40% because the awnings were falling down, and we thought the city needed to be dressed up a little bit. I think that's pretty friendly to small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bertone. Ms. Green?
As a previous small business owner, yes, I would like to see anything that's possible to be done to help the small businesses, but I think San Dimas is doing quite well with the small businesses. Fixing up the downtown is one thing, and letting a lot of new businesses in town. We've changed things to accommodate businesses because the internet has taken over in so many cases. I would like to see what Mr. Portantino has in mind. I would like to read what he wants to do before I could agree with it. But yes, I am all in favor of anything we can do to help small businesses because I've been there, I've done that, and I want them to all succeed. I think San Dimas is doing a good job with it so far. Let's see what Portantino has in mind before we make a strong decision on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. Mr. Vienna, same question.
Thank you. My wife and I have a small business here in town. She's a psychologist, and I can tell you that this city is very difficult to do business with. As a matter of fact, speaking with a lot of small businesses, whether you're trying to get off the ground or you're trying to leverage the chamber, it's not very simple. It's funny, there's one person on the stage who has voted 7 of the last 10 years to increase the business license tax in this city repeatedly, despite Prop 218. And when we look at these things and look at the ordinance, there's some things we need to revisit. At the end of the day, when it comes specifically to Prop 13, I absolutely would protect Prop 13. I would lobby the legislators, and this council, if I'm elected, will take a voice in actively participating through the Contract Cities Association, the COGS, and all the other organizations so that our state legislators know exactly how we feel in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. Mr. Morris, same question.
Prop 13 is the basic constitutional protection of the property tax rate. It limits the amount of the property tax. Primarily, it's on all property, whether it's residential, whatever it might be. It was enacted by the people as an amendment to the Constitution. The state legislature cannot change it. It takes a vote of the people to change it. I frankly think that that's unlikely to happen. It has worked well for California. The property tax is very low in California compared to a lot of other places. It's because of Prop 13. I don't think there's any great threat that the current legislature may want to change it, but I don't think there's any great chance the public will change it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morris. Here's one I think we're going to start. I think we started the first question with you, Mr. Ramirez. We're going to start with Mr. Bearse. Share with us your position on housing density in San Dimas.
Housing density?
Housing density.
Well, I think our current zoning and infrastructure is fine as it is. We're already seeing losing equestrian center space, and people are starting to rezone those areas to add more housing. I think San Dimas has reached its limit as far as housing and our infrastructure. It's there. We just need to work with our current infrastructure and our current business model and fill those businesses. Look, I don't care. You could say that we have 400 more retail licenses than Laverne, but we all go to dinner in Laverne. We all go to dinner in Claremont. And listen, I love our city, and that's the reason I'm running. I want to go to dinner in San Dimas. I want to go get yogurt in San Dimas. So that's what it boils down to. And look, I think this council needs fresh blood, fresh ideas, and that's what I bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bertone, you want to share your?
Yeah,
Okay.
As far as density goes, when this city was first established, they considered having a population of 64,000. Now we have 33,000, and I think the density is absolutely fine. As far as restaurants go, we have one of the best restaurants in the San Gabriel Valley now in the city of San Dimas, Luca Bella's at the Walker House. where I haven't seen a lot of people here. It is a fine, excellent restaurant. And we have to worry about density in the foothills. That's the main place where I'm concerned about density. And I do not approve of downzoning equestrian lots. I think equestrian lots should be left as equestrian lots, and we shouldn't put high density on equestrian lots. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Green, you want to share your position on housing density? 1 minute?
Yes, what I understand is that we do meet the high density with the state. We are right in there with what we've got right now. I am not in favor of large apartment complexes or high-density, large housing developments. I like what we have. We do have a little bit of room to grow, and yes, I think we need to grow so we have more people to go to the restaurants here in town. I would like to see more business in town supported by people in town. If it takes more people living here, we have a wonderful place. I'd like to share it with others, but no, I do not want high density. I want reasonable density brought to our town. I like it the way it is with reasonable density and new people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. Mr. Vienna, same question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Can you share your position on housing density in San Dimas?
Housing density is an interesting topic. We have a project right now before the Planning Commission, the Oak Valley project, and you're looking at the lot square footage at 7,500. I grew up in town. My parents have an equestrian property, and I love that equestrian property. I think we should be looking at bigger lot sizes. I think that there's an opportunity perhaps with the Metro Gold Line, should it come and should we have a station, which I'm sure we'll get into later, that there may be some opportunity for some medium density housing, but I absolutely oppose high density housing by definition in this community. I think Glendora is getting a little bit big, and I'm not a fan of what's going on Route 66 when you get down towards Grand. So you have my commitment not to support high density. I would consider medium density, but I'm very happy with the way our community is right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Same question.
Okay. The city of San Dimas has a housing element, as all cities must have. Our housing element is approved through 2022, which means we don't have to build any particular kind of housing. We don't have to provide additional high density. After 2022, that may not be the case because the state is very much interested in increasing density. The city of San Dimas has tried to maintain the character of the community by maintaining the same kind of housing that we have, similar lots sizes. I think that's the right way to go. I think we should be very, very careful about succumbing to the idea of very high density meaning they're talking about very large numbers now, but anything over 15 units per acre is pretty high for here. But I think our policies that we have now are really good for this community to preserve it as the way it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Ramirez, same question. Would you like to repeat it?
No, fine. I'm like Ryan. I believe in medium density. I don't like the idea. I like sidewalks. I like trees. I like street line trees. And I think once we start talking high density, you lose, the places come up to the sidewalk. And that's what we like about San Dimas, the rule, the trees, the bushes. And I totally support medium. And like the mayor said, we don't have to do anything till 22, and I know it's around the corner, but I think medium density would be the best. I'm against high density only because we lose so much. We lose the greenery and we lose a lot of what we love about San Dimas, the wilderness. And even though we have hundreds of houses here, but we still have that rural feeling of being in the country. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question, I think we'll start with you, Denny.
Okay.
The Via Verde shopping mall is a virtual ghost town. What are your ideas to solve this problem, or is it solvable?
Well, of course it's solvable. The Via Verde Shopping Center is half empty, and the city is working with the owner of the center, and they've done several things already. The first thing we did was we agreed to change his signage and allow him to have a monument sign out in front and to change the signs that he has on his building. And he hasn't done this yet, but we also are allowing him to put different types of uses in, other than just retail uses, because the city feels that even though if it's a non-retail use, it's better to have the building occupied. But the owner of the center is very slow. You cannot force him to do things. And in that sense, he's very slow to act. But we've met with him, the chamber has met with him, the city manager meets with him at least once a month, and he is very slow to act, but we've agreed to change his signage and to put new signs, and he's agreed to at least paint the place, and that's at least a start. His fees that he asks are exorbitant, and that's why a lot of the customers have left.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green, same question?
Yes, Via Verde is not looking good. We all know that, and it's not well attended over there. The Chamber of Commerce, and I know the city, they've all really tried to work with the owner, and right now it's the owner, up to the owner to get out there and do something with his property. No, the city can't fix it for him. They can't go in and repair things for him. The owner needs to do that himself. It is something he needs to take pride in and do. The city has been over backwards doing signage, helping and changing with the signage. The idea of letting services go in there rather than just retail. It's always nice to have retail because you get more tax dollars out of that than service. But if it takes changing the demographics of the people that are in there and the businesses, I think the city is doing a very good job. And I wish that the owner of the property would really meet at least halfway on that to make a better looking center, because it doesn't look good right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vienna, same question.
I think the shopping center at Via Verde is an interesting topic. Spent some time there at La Via Kitchen and some of those other places. You know, I did a little bit of research into that particular property, and I can understand the property owner's right to do what he's doing there. At the same token, for when I've spoken with other businesses that I've tried to ask if they'd be interested in coming to this community, they've all said no. And the bottom line is, it's something that has to change. Change occurs, as one of my professors said, change occurs when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And that's where I think we're at. I think it's time for a change on the city council to get some traction with that gentleman at that center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. Mr. Morris, same question.
The Via Verde Center is definitely a challenge. And one of the challenges is that it does not have enough traffic to meet the requirements for modern day retail. The only people who could, I mean, if you look around, the people who can get money to invest are typically chain operations. That's off their radar. It does not have enough traffic. It really has great problems, and frankly, we've done a lot of things. I don't think the city has the tools that they can use to really change that. That's just an economic situation that land use will change, but it will not change until the property owner and the community come to some kind of an agreement as to what the future use is. It is not an easy thing to solve. The city can't make demands and get work done. The center probably is not viable as a shopping center, but that's for other people to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Ramirez, same question.
I believe that shopping center gets a lot of special treatment from city council, because I think the owner of the shopping center now knows that we're whipped, that we don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up against this owner and say, no, not anymore. I mean, we're bending over backward with special treatment, let them do this, let them do that. No, I don't think so. So I think we need a new city council, a new blood in there, new vigor in there, to maybe get him to realize, or corporation to realize, that San Dimas is not a stepping stone, that he needs to step up to the plate and be a true business partner to this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beer, same question.
Okay, more than half empty. There's 11 vacant shops there, okay, and that's not half, that's way more than half. And the place hasn't been painted, so that's a failure. Look, when you tell the guy he needs to paint, there's municipal codes, there's ordinances that he has to adhere to keep a standard for your business. You just can't let your businesses run down. We need to hold them to that standard. And so I don't think the right people are negotiating with this guy. I think, like Emma said and Ryan said, if you look at this any other way than a failure, then we're looking at it the wrong way. That brings down property value. It breeds crime. When you have empty businesses, talk to the pharmacy owner there and find out how often he gets broken into. It's very often, and we don't hear. It's not something you hear in the news, but it's because empty shops, it's the broken window theory, breeds crime, and it brings our property value down. So something needs to be done about that. And I think new negotiations with that guy would do good for the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, just for the audience, a lot of you have asked the same types of questions, and so I'm going through some of these, and if it's similar and I feel it's been answered, I may not ask that specific question, but it's very similar. So I just wanted you to know that. So Margie, we start with you, and this question has come up a few times, so I'll start with you and then we'll go down the line. Will zoning change at Valley Center South by Walnut Creek? Is it currently zoned for housing, and will that change? So it's regarding the zoning change at possible, let's put it that way, possible zoning change at Valley Center South by Walnut Creek. It's currently zoned for housing, will that change?
Valley Center South.
I'm just reading what's on the card. It says at Valley Center South by Walnut Creek, so it has to do with the Walnut Creek area?
The Walnut Creek area. I know that the city bought some of the property at Walnut Creek over off of the Loma Vista area. So housing would not be in there. The Loma Vista South by Valley Center, I don't know that anything is planned for in there. At one time, they were putting a housing development in there, and Suchi is over there. No, I don't see that it's going to be changing anytime soon. I think what they've got right now, they'll stay with, and I think the city will prevent having any large housing developments going in over there to protect our wilderness area.
Thank you. Mr. Vienna, same question. I'm going to try, if you want me to repeat, I'll try. This is the way it's written. So do you get the gist of the question?
Go ahead, repeat it for giggles.
Okay. Regarding the possible zone change at Valley Center South by the Walnut Creek area, it is currently zoned for housing. Will that change?
So the question was, what do I think about the Walnut Creek project? Okay, so no, to answer your question in short, I don't see that changing in the immediate time. I'd have to honestly get further information on that question. Specifically, though, to the Walnut Creek project, I think it's a fascinating project, and I know many members of this community became actively involved in that particular initiative, protecting their neighborhoods from increased traffic, noise pollution, and things of that nature. I can tell you that I've gone and I've seen some of these homes, and I've spent some time there and seen the parking impaction that occurs. And I think that there are things that have to be done to civically engage the people that are impacted by these things before the ball gets too far down the road. You'll have my commitment that you will be engaged if I get elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt, do you have the gist of that question, or do you?
Yes, I think the question refers to the south end of Valley Center, where it starts down to that. So it's on the north side of the creek, and there was an approved residential project there that was approved many years ago that it failed. It was never developed because of the recession. This property is actually to the west of the extension of Valley Center. I believe that property is now owned by the Suchi organization. They have talked about various things that they might suggest for that. Whether it would be rezoned, I don't know. That's something that the city council and will ultimately have to decide if it is, but it is truly now zoned for a residential development.
Thank you. Mrs. Ramirez, same question?
Well, I worked very hard for the Walnut Creek Wilderness Project, and I really believe in it. And I will definitely work again harder if they try to rezone it for something else other than residential homes or residential. Obviously, I'm against high density, and I would want to keep the charm and the quaint of the area, beautiful landscaping. I would like to keep it the same. And so definitely I would want to keep it the same and not have it changed, or I'd work against it or work together as a group, the committee work together as a group to keep that area, the wilderness that it needs to stay for the animals and animals that live there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bearse?
Yeah, I'd be opposed to any rezoning of that area, and, you know, obviously it sounds like it's already in the works, but I would support, as far as that wilderness project goes, I would support my Loma Vista, Villa Verde residents in supporting that no expansion of that area, keeping it the way it is. We don't need hundreds and hundreds of outsiders coming in and abusing that land. I think it's beautiful as it is, and it's meant to be used the way it is, and I think increasing homes or other type of non-residential issues, I think that would hurt our community. So I'm definitely against any expansion in that area.
Thank you.
Well, we should get one thing straight. This development that they're talking about has nothing to do with the Wilderness Park. It's the end of Valley Center. It's north of the Wilderness Park. There's 18 acres there, and it was zoned for housing. The city council approved it. I voted against it because I thought the lots were too small. I think those lots need to be bigger. But this is not wilderness. This is just north of the wilderness area. And it is zoned, and I would not be against the Sioux Chi's having that property, which they own right now. They wanted to build a gym. They wanted to build an outside school. As long as the playground and everything wasn't up against the houses where it would disturb the residential neighborhoods, I would not oppose it. But this has nothing to do with the Wilderness Park whatsoever. It's completely separate. It's 18 acres, and it's north of the Wilderness Park. And as far as the Wilderness Park goes, absolutely no housing there, and we have to protect the community. And I'm absolutely sworn, and I put it in writing, that I will not allow any type of traffic to go through Villa Verde from that Wilderness Park.
I'm going to change it up a little bit. I believe, Ryan, we started the last round. We're going to start with you. And we've talked about development. We've talked about economic development. We've talked about the shopping mall. Let's talk a little about the community. Let's talk, this specific question regards students. How will you be able to incorporate young adults and teens into San Dimas community events?
I think that's a great question. The LA County Sheriff's Department San Dimas Station has a Young Marine program, an Explorer program. I think these programs, as I was talking with someone that was here in the community tonight, are not marketed as well. They're not as well known. And I think we can do a better job, at least from the city side of it, assisting the Sheriff's Department and marketing those programs a little bit more successful. When I was a kid, I was in Civil Air Patrol, and we used to come out and do traffic control for some of the events around town. Those are the types of things that I think we can do, pairing up our youth with our folks, our volunteers from the Sheriff's Station and other volunteer groups within our community. Ultimately, engaging the youth is something that is critical because I think it helps deter crime and it produces better outcomes. They learn through service, and I think that's something that we should be instilling in our youth. So I think I'd be an absolute proponent of that, community programs partnering with the city to see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Same question.
I think that we have a lot of programs in conjunction with our Parks and Recreation Department, the small basketball players, the mid-size, the city municipal track. We also have a great relationship with the cities, with the schools at Bonita Unified School District. One of the things that we do at many city council meetings is we honor the students who have performed well in a variety of kinds of things, I think more so than most places. I think that whatever we can do to bring kids more involved, but they're really busy nowadays. They have a lot going on, and they're in a lot of programs, but we do a lot. The Parks and Recreation has an amazing array of programs for everything from youth to senior citizens. But you can always find programs that you can do more, and I think we have done a very good job in that, however.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Ramirez, same question.
In talking to the community and talking to different people, a citizen brought up to me the idea of involving children, younger age, like fifth graders, and like in civic matters, like having civic classes, like in high. So obviously we'd have to partner with the Bonita Unified or school districts, having a civic class and teaching children from early age to get involved, to be involved in our community in small tokens and small ways, but teaching them to be involved, how civic business matter work, how do you go about learning about city council, how do you go learning about running for this or learning about that. And I think if we start them very young and getting them involved in the community in small things, I think it'll give us opportunity and make stronger future leaders.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. Mr. Bearse, same question.
Yeah, I strongly believe in programs like the Young Marines and the Explorer program that the Sheriff's Department offers. I've seen it time and time again. 30 years with Sheriff Department, I've seen a lot of youth saved. And I worked South Central LA for a long time, and pulling in those kids and getting them involved in a structure did wonders for them. And I also believe in youth sports. I don't care what sport it is. I think we need to encourage kids to participate, keeps them in shape, teaches them discipline, structure, and some kids don't have, they're broken families. You know, this is a chance for you get to, as a coach, to be a role model to them and support them and give them the leadership that they may not be getting at home. And I think that as a coach myself, I think sports is a great way to control our youth and give them a productive way to get in society. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis, same question.
Yes, I certainly believe in engaging the youth. As a retired high school counselor and school teacher, I know how important students are. You can't have a first-class city without having a first-class school district, and you can't have a first-class school district without having a first-class city, and we have both. Personally, I'm the city's liaison to Lone Hill Middle School. I go to their awards assembly all the time, and I speak and hand out awards. I was involved in the hands-on history program for the school district. They had a bond committee. I served on the bond committee. Also, with the first bond that the school district did, which was overwhelmingly passed by the citizens of San Dimas. I co-chaired that with someone from Laverne. I'm very involved with the school district. The entire city is involved with the school district. In fact, we have a committee of 2 council members that meets with the school district monthly. The kids come to our city council meeting. We have a government day, and we tour the city with the kids, and we show them what's happening behind the scenes. Extremely important. The younger you start, the better it is.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green, same question.
Yes, so we have a brochure that comes out once, I believe 4 times a year. It's called The Frontier. It has so many programs in it for the youths. It has summer programs where the youth can have games, arts and crafts, things like that, and also lunches. They have after-school programs. We have the recreation center over there. There's so many different programs for the young people in our community. We have the government day, so they come and learn. I'd also like to say I believe Graceland Goodwin is here tonight, and she's getting extra credit. Some of her folks from her high school, it will be their first time that they are able to vote in an election. I know she's asked me a lot of questions, and I'm glad to see that the young people are paying attention. We also have a program that honors the adults that help the youth, adult to youth honorees, and I believe it comes out on your weekly, and you can fill out a name so we can honor somebody that has helped greatly with the youth in the community.
Thank you very much. I'm still waiting for an answer between Adele and Beyonce. Does anybody want to offer?
Adele, thank you.
Abstain.
Okay, I'm going to change it up a little bit. We've talked a little, and we'll get back to talk about community and, you know, partnerships with the school district. But one, I think this is an issue that plagues many surrounding communities. I know I deal with 15 other cities, and this is an issue that came up at 2 other additional candidates forums that I did. Kurt, we'll start with you, and the question is, what will you specifically do to curb problems of transients and petty crimes that seem to be escalating in San Dimas?
That is a huge problem because the number of criminals who are out who now realize that it is no longer a crime to burglarize your house. It is not a crime to break the window of your car and steal whatever you have. If it's under $1,000, they will not be prosecuted. That's just the way it is. The state in 2 different, the voters in 2 different initiatives have passed things that basically say, don't keep people in prison. And if you don't keep people in prison, they come back out on the streets, and there is a serious crime problem. There's no doubt about it. It's going up everywhere. One of the things that San Dimas does is we have one of the most expensive sheriff's contracts anywhere around. We pay more money. We have more policing than any city around us. The only city that's higher in the whole region is South El Monte. Other than that, we are, for example, with Diamond Bar, we're 1.5 or 2/3,
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
75% of theirs. It's a huge problem.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez, same question.
The mayor was talking about Assembly Bill 109 and Prop 57 and all these props that just changed our lives drastically. Tragically, the officer that was killed in Whittier was on an accident. It was property crime only, and did not know that the car was stolen, and his life was taken for a crime that he was not going to go to jail for. The car was stolen, and he was not going to go to jail. He get arrested, technically booked, like they say, but he would have been out in hours. So the tragedy of this whole thing, a death over nothing. So the transient crime and everything else, we need to start from the top. We need to start talking to our congressmen. We need to start talking to the people on top. We're here at the bottom. We need to talk to the people in Congress. We need to talk to our assemblymen. We need to make our voice known and heard loud that we will not tolerate crime running rampant. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bearse, same question.
Yeah, it's most definitely a sad situation, but it's we're our own worst enemies. We as the citizens voted to release these people, and that's what happens. I mean, that guy that killed the police officer yesterday, he's on parole, and he had just committed a murder not too long before he shot the police officer. So this was a bad guy, and he should be in prison. And the sheriff department's doing as good a job as they can, but when you have so many people out there, it's going to take our help as a community. And you know what? Neighborhood watch programs, looking out for each other. When you see something, say something. That really means something. And that's for starters. If you see someone hanging around in the neighborhood or you see something that's not right, usually it's not right. You guys know who belongs and who doesn't. So keep doing what you're doing. And if we need to enhance those programs, I think that's the key. It starts with the community. We can't expect government or law enforcement to take care of ourselves. We got to do it ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bearse.
A couple of weeks ago, the city had the booster dinner for the volunteers at the sheriff's station, and the sheriff himself came, Jim McDonald, came and talked about crime and how it's going up, and he even said we're better off in San Dimas than in most communities, but any crime is too much crime. One of the things we've done above our contract is that San Dimas has a probation officer dedicated to the city of San Dimas, the city of San Dimas only, and we also have a school resource officer that's dedicated to the schools in the Bonita School District, and this is beyond our contract, and we pay for this, and that's why we have a higher fee than most cities for our sheriff's contract. So we're aware of this, and we also have any extra patrol time that the sheriff requests, we give it to them beyond our contract. And we feel that this is one of the best ways we can help prevent it. But you're right, the community has to be involved. Neighborhood watch is extremely important, and you have to be the eyes and ears because the sheriff cannot be everywhere. And I think the sheriff does an excellent job myself.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green, same question.
Yes, I think a lot of this starts with the state, and when they changed it so things are not a crime anymore, I see that as a problem. But in our city, what we need to do is if you see it, say it. You have to watch out for your own neighborhood and call it in, let them know. We do pay really well for our sheriff's safety, and what we get the probation officer, we get somebody at the school, we have cars in and out. We're lucky to have the station within our city, and that gives more visibility to having cars. But the main thing is citizens have to look out for themselves. You have to call in, you have to let them know there's a problem. Be aware of your surroundings. And yes, I think a lot needs to change with the state and keeping people in prison longer. Keep them off the street and get them back where they belong, if that's where they belong. Let them be in the community only if they deserve to be in our community. But watch out for yourself, watch out for your neighbors, and do a good deed.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. Mr. Vienna, same question.
You repeat it, please?
Sure. What will you do specifically to curb problems of transients and petty crimes that seem to be escalating in San Dimas?
Thank you. You know, petty crimes in San Dimas is fascinating. Let me address number one, the homeless issue. The homeless count just happened not too long ago. I'm on the Public Safety Commission, have been since 2015, and I can tell you that while I went out on the count year before last, and we only counted, I think, 8 or thereabout, there's absolutely a heck of a lot more transients than that in our community, and the deputies will tell you. Specifically, what can we do? We have a community action team that this city pays for, and we can leverage those deputies to go out there and do mitigation, link those people to services, and get them into homes, get them into beds, get them back to work. That's what we can do effectively to be able to do it. As it relates to AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57, I condemn every single one of those pieces of legislation. They've jeopardized our safety, jeopardized our communities, and I think we should all write our legislator to see them take swift action to fix this problem today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. This always seems to happen. Whenever there's a city council race, city staff basically has questions, and I think this is more a question geared towards the city staff. So I think it's a good question. So Mrs. Ramirez, I'm going to start with you. Would you have a problem of overturning or disregarding recommendations by city staff members? Sure. Would you have a problem of overturning or disregarding recommendations by city staff members?
Eventually, one person's in charge. I would take their considerations to the recommendation of whatever it is. If that's their line of expertise, obviously I would go with the expertise. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. So if it needs to be overturned or changed, I would change it with obviously some consultation with the people and staff that you surround yourself with. So I have no problem changing something if it will benefit the community better.
I'm good, I'm good. Thank you.
Do me a favor, sir, repeat the question, please.
Sure. Would you have a problem of overturning or disregarding recommendations by city staff members?
No, I wouldn't have a problem at all. I think that is part of the problem, that there's not another voice out there saying, hey, look, it just seems to me that a lot of these things all go 5-0 when they vote on these agenda items. there's no discussions on it. I can't imagine that one person ever has a different opinion on these things. So I think you need someone looking at it from a different view, and someone that's not afraid to say, hey, that's not a good idea. Now, I know it takes a majority to win a vote over or to pass an item. However, I'm going to be that one person, if I have to be that, if I don't feel that it's right for the needs of the community, then I'm going to speak up.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Same question?
Yeah, I have no problem overturning a recommendation of staff. I've done it many times. We're fortunate, though, to have an excellent staff, starting with the city manager, working all the way down. And, you know, the staff just doesn't come up with these ideas. We have study sessions all the time, which are open to the public, by the way. And the public does attend, where we discuss issues before they become ordinances oftentimes. And the city council gives the staff what their recommendations are, then staff comes up with their own ideas. If I disagree with it, I vote against it. There's been many votes, not many, but there's some votes where it's been 4-1 and I've been the 1. Some it's been 4-2 and I've been the 2. Some it's been 3-2 where I've been on the side of the 3. It just depends on the issue, but I have no problem overriding staff. But since we have such a fantastic staff, I do pay attention to them. They have a lot of expertise, and hopefully they give us the right information, and I think they do. But if it's something I disagree with, I vote against it.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green, same question?
Yes, the staff is really good, and in the planning commission that I'm on, a lot of times we'll have staff recommendations, and yes, we don't always agree on the staff recommendation, but we listen to the experts, and that's the staff. They've researched it. They'll tell us why and what for. The other day we had a split decision on something with the planning commission, so I have no problem saying, no, let's rethink this, let's revisit it, let's do it a different way, or just no, I don't like it the way it is. But you do have to listen to the people that are the experts behind the scenes and listen to why they recommended the way it did. I know also with the Planning Commission, sometimes it gets as far as City Council, and City Council has said no to some of the things that Planning Commission has approved. So it is a good process, and I think it's a fair process, and when it's all done, yes, I could say no to staff if I totally believe that it needs to be voted a different way.
Thank you. Mr. Vienna, same question.
You know, we have a council manager form of government, which basically means, and I learned this because the city manager and I had some differences when it came to getting a community emergency response team off the ground, which changed my second year at USC at the School of Public Policy to learn more about what this is. I have no issue opposing staff. As a matter of fact, I commend Councilman Bedard, who's standing in the back, who actually went against the staff report in recommending to raise the business license tax for this fiscal year, despite the city having over $1 million unallocated at the end of the fourth quarter this year. As a small business owner, I appreciate that. I think our job as electeds is to represent the people, and it's the staff's job to be subordinate to the city manager and make appropriate recommendations consistent with what we want from our city. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Mr. Morris, same question.
I don't disregard the recommendations and comments of the staff. I think it would be foolish to do that. However, there are many issues in which come down to policy matters where City Council doesn't always agree with the staff. And if we don't agree, we vote that way, or I vote that way, and I think all the members vote however they think. I can give you an example. There was a motion, an approval of a higher density development. It was still medium density or less, by the way, but the City Council overruled a recommendation of the Planning Commission and the staff, and after all the hearings, by a vote of 4-0, because we, as a City Council, decided that was not appropriate for that community. So you have to consider what the staff has to say. They're experienced, they're qualified, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with them all the time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, the next question is a 10-part question.
Why am I not surprised?
I'm only kidding, I'm kidding. It's a three-parter, though. It's a three-parter dealing with the gold line. Mr. Bearse, we're going to start with you. First part is, do you support the gold line? Where are your thoughts on the ideal station? And will you work with other city council members to ensure that San Dimas gets a station?
What was the third part?
Will you work with other city council members to ensure that San Dimas gets a station?
Okay, my thoughts on the gold line. Wow, and we gotta have a minute on this one, huh? There's a lot of pros and cons of the gold line. The pros are the obvious ones. Better transportation, ease to the downtown and Pasadena areas. The cons are, obviously, you discussed them a little bit earlier. We talked about a little bit more transient problems. There definitely will be more crime issues. Ideal station, I think somewhere right around the San Dimas Avenue proposed area right there where it meets the tracks, I think would be good. And then, of course, I would support with the city council on that. I think it's an important tool to the city, and I think the customer base that it could bring to our small businesses in the community could help them out. And I just think with that, we'll need to supplement our law enforcement side of it. But I think overall, the gold line is something I think would be beneficial to San Dimas.
Thank you, Mr. Bearse. Mr. Bertone, same question.
Yes, I support the gold line. I sit on the Joint Powers Authority, which is one of the controls over the gold line. And I think it's very important. The gold line is going through San Dimas, if you like it or not. It's because it's going to Claremont because Measure M passed. So we want to have as much control over it as possible. A station would be good, not in any residential area where there's single-family homes, but I think between the area behind the Albertsons where there are some businesses would be a good place for a gold line station. And yes, I work with the council members to have a station. We're going to have the train go through San Dimas. The traffic is going to be there if we have a station or not. So we might as well have a station for the convenience of the people that live here so they can use it. The gold line has found unbelievable ridership, whereas the bus ridership has gone down. So yes, but I want to have control over it, and I want to make sure that the city doesn't have to pay unreasonable amounts of fees to build a station. We cannot pay $6 million if...
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green?
All right, Measure M, which was voting for the gold line, did pass in overall state, but in San Dimas it was like a 55%, and it needs to be 2/3 vote in the state. I am for the gold line. I know it's going to go through town. They keep setting it back time-wise. Time-wise, we're looking at 2027 to 2029 before it comes. I am on the art commission for the gold line to be sure it looks good. I know we've had charrettes here in town that have said possibly move it to the other end of town. I do think if we're going to have it here, it will be best over behind the shopping center off of Arrow Highway and have the traffic go in and out of there. Yes, and I would like to work with them on that. I work with them now to make sure it's going to look good. I hope we all live long enough to be able to take that train somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. I hope I live long enough to see that as well, so thank you for that.
I want to be one of the first riders.
Mr. Vienna, same question.
Well, I pray to God I see that thing too. So this is an interesting thing, and those of you that have read my statement, I'll be very clear. I am absolutely opposed to the gold line implementation the way the city council has currently proposed it. It will not benefit the businesses in our community. It will be a commuter station just the way it is, like the Metrolink station over in Covina. It's a very poor implementation. The city yard is in the mix. They don't want to lose that. That's where the environmental impact report's been done. And now they got it tentatively planned over somebody's business, and half those people profess that they know nothing about it, although I've heard otherwise. The council in the 70s had actually proposed putting it near the Park and Ride. I think that probably this is the best location. They had the foresight along the Santa Fe line. It creates an opportunity for a new vision in the downtown and an opportunity for car shows and people to get off and come to our quaint town. That's where I think it should go, and I'd be happy to discuss it further with any of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. Mr. Morris, same question.
I'm not a fan of the gold line. The gold line will have a tremendous adverse effect on San Dimas in two ways. One is the Cataract and Bonita Avenue intersection will probably end up recommending with a flyover, so we'll have the Great Wall of China will divide San Dimas. In addition, the problem with the stations, we can't have the station, we have been told it can't be where the Park and Ride is because of some limitations on a variety of things that the Federal Railway Authority would not permit that. It just doesn't meet the requirements. So the least difficult place is behind Albertsons. The problem with that is, and this has not been studied, although they promised it, it may impact San Dimas Avenue so bad that the Bonita and San Dimas Avenue intersection will be backed up and jammed for maybe as much as 15 minutes or 20 minutes of every hour. I think it's a bummer. One time it was $1 million for a station, then it was 3, and now they're talking about 6.
Thank you.
I personally am happy to see
Thank you, Mr.
that it
Morris.
won't be here soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Ramirez, same question.
I support the gold line. I believe, like Ryan, that it has to be properly located in San Dimas, especially because the gold line can be an asset or a tool for us as San Dimas and give it life, our downtown San Dimas. It could bring business here. It can make things easier for commute for the people that travel toward downtown or Pasadena. It would ease up traffic. So I am a firm believer of the gold line, but I also believe we need to control it. We need to be able to be part of it. And I think if we're part of it and we're an active participant, instead of pouting in a corner and saying, I don't want it, I think if we actively participate in it, we will make a great gold line and make it an asset to San Dimas.
Thank you. Dennis, we're going to start with you, and some of you may have covered this in your opening statement, but I think I want to, if you can be as specific as possible. What, in your opinion, is the most pressing issue facing San Dimas today, and do you have a solution for that pressing issue?
Well, the most pressing issue that faces San Dimas today is something that no one's talking about. It's called the W4S stormwater prevention. And the federal government is making us clean up our stormwater. And the rules say that San Dimas, in the next 10 years, will have to pay $156 million, which is $15 million a year to do it, which none of the cities can afford. Other important issues is specific plan number 25, which is in the northern foothills, and it's the development of the northern foothills. I don't think the northern foothills should be overdeveloped. I think the city should go after grants and get as much open space as possible. The third important issue is the crime issue, and San Dimas is doing all possible to solve the crime problem. As we talked about before, with the added service of the Sheriff's Department. And other issues would be to engage people, to have more people engaged in city activities, and we're doing well on that, but we need to have the youth involved as much as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green, do you want me to repeat the question?
Please do.
Sure. What, in your opinion, is the most pressing issue facing San Dimas today, and do you have a solution for that pressing issue?
I have 3 pressing issues, I believe. Public safety, we have talked about that a lot. Transportation, we were just talking about the Gold Line, but that also includes services for seniors going to and from places, and the city does subsidize that. The other is land use. I think that's a very important thing, that we use our land properly, and when we develop, we need to develop it in a good way, so it's to the benefit of the community for the people. We need to listen to the people. So public safety, number one, we need to stay on top of that. Transportation is another that I think is very, very important to all of us. The seniors as well as the youths are getting around, and the land use is extremely important to be sure we have land for the future for our families that are going to be living here in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. Mr. Vienna, same question.
I think the most pressing issue in San Dimas is business as usual, frankly. That's why I'm running. The bottom line is we need more accountability. We need to be able to have performance metrics from our local government to understand how long it takes to do certain processes. The bottom line is when you look at how long it takes for something to happen, or a quantifiable discipline report for certain staff members, one in a very high-level position that has reputably cursed members of the public multiple times, needs to be held accountable. The bottom line is I will go and I will seek to bring on accountability measures to this local government through local government auditing to be able to have each department have a report that gets published so that we can all see performance metrics, because the bottom line is if we don't know where to start, we don't know how to improve, and there's no way to govern that right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. Mr. Moore, same question.
Clearly, the biggest issue, because it would finish us, is a stormwater permit. As Dennis said, there is no conceivable way that we could survive that. And it just keeps going down the track. Maybe somebody will change, but so far they haven't. After that, I think it is the rise of petty crime. Serious crimes they're serious, but they're infrequent. But it's the increasing number of cases of these people who are they'll break the window just to see if there's anything in the car. These are people who formerly were incarcerated. They're no longer incarcerated. They're on the streets, and it's going to be very difficult to deal with this crime issue, and I think we're giving it that attention. I know the Sheriff's Department is working on trying ways that we can do this better, but it is a problem for everybody, our city and every city in California, frankly.
Thank you. Mrs. Ramirez?
I believe the most pressing thing for a city of San Dimas is our emergency management, our public safety. We have nothing ready to go in case something big happens. When I say big, like a huge earthquake, a huge fire, a huge something, where all our resources would be exhausted. We don't have a mobile command post. We could get those through grants, through the federal government, which would cost nothing, which means a mobile command post, which means we could handle, because the fire department will handle their business, the police department will do theirs, but how is the city going to continue functioning? We need to be able to move resources, move tractors, move whatever we have resources to protect our citizens, and we're not ready for it. We're not in the 21st century. We're back in the old days in an office, in a building, but what happens if that building collapses? We have no way for our citizens to be safe and be able to respond to the emergency needs that this city has. So I believe that we need to work on that immediately as a city council.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bearse, same question?
Well, I think the number one problem that we face moving forward is public safety. I think that crime is on the rise. We've touched on it. We don't need to beat a dead horse, but I think that's something that we need to get ahead of, and I think we need to watch it. And a little bit of, I have to agree with Ryan. I think we have stale leadership here, and I think that transcends throughout the entire, a lot of the other offices within San Dimas. I talked to a contractor who's been contracting since 1979. He told me to go ahead and try to do something here in San Dimas. He said, of all the cities in the San Gabriel Valley, all of them, it is the worst city to deal with. Rudeness, hard to get permits. I mean, and I've heard things like that from numerous people. I think it starts at the top with the city council, and we got to hold our people accountable. And remember that we, the citizens out there, are the customers, and we're providing a customer-based business, and that's what we need to do. We need to be good service to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. We've touched a little bit about this, but I thought I'd bring this one back because I know it's an important component in a lot of cities, their downtown area. So Margie, starting with you, how do you feel about the downtown refurbishment, and what's your vision for the downtown area?
Well, if it ever quit raining, I think it's going to get finished. Right now, I'm really excited about it. I know some people say, why are we getting rid of the boardwalk? Well, the boards were dangerous. They were being uprooted. It needs to be changed. The look of the downtown needs to be brought up. The history of our town is not the boardwalks. It only goes back to 1970. So by changing it back, we're looking at the turn of the century and the way it was in the 20s and 30s. And I think we'll have a unique downtown. Right now, they're putting plants in. It's starting to look better. I'm excited about it. I like the clock tower. But I think the city has done a wonderful job trying to revitalize the downtown, open it up so people can see it as they drive through. Hopefully, we'll have more businesses that want to come downtown, more businesses besides hair salons, and we'll have some retail businesses. I'm looking forward to what can be done, and I'm glad we finally took the step to move forward and do something. It's about time.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Vienna, same question?
Yeah, downtown's an interesting thing. You know, we're not going to cry over spilled milk because we can't get it back. So protecting our character and and what it was, some didn't. And the bottom line is the downtown charrette process. There was very poor civic engagement. There's a small group of folks that engage in this community, but by and large, many people are left out. A lot of people didn't even know downtown was under renovation until the ground was being tore up. And that's sad. That's very sad to me that we didn't engage those factions of the people. And I'm sorry for that. I would hope that in the future we engage more people. I would hope that there's no reason why the wine shop can't stay over till 10 and get an awning that they've tried to for a very long time and can't get it through this city. And I would hope that with the Gold Line there's some opportunity to bring some vibrancy and some stimulus to our local economy. Thank you.
Mr. Morris?
I think the downtown refurbishment and reworking is a great idea. It's working well. I think it's going to turn out very well. I know when we did it, take out trees, even though they were destroying the world, that's not a great thing to do. But I think one great vote of confidence in the downtown is that two of the businesses downtown that have been there for quite a while recently bought the buildings they're in from their owners, so that they are making a commitment to stay here for a long time. We don't have very many vacancies in the downtown area. And one of the reasons, the downtown is very, very small. The total square footage of the downtown, if you take out at least, and you probably don't even have to take out the Goodyear store, is less than the square footage of the Albertsons store. So it is never going to be a great economic center because the buildings are too small and they're old. They look good, they maintain the character, and I think that's the best we can do there. But they are occupied and they're in business.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Huh? Mr. Ramirez, I'm sorry. Same question. Okay.
I believe downtown is not looking good. They talk about revitalization, everything else. They say those trees are alive. I don't think so. Those plants are alive. They look dead to me. I would be taking them back. And I hope we didn't pay for some of that stuff because it is horrible. But I do believe that we need to have a plan as a community. Ask the community, do we want to keep a Southwestern kind of thing? Do we want to go modern? Get the community involvement. And that's why I believe downtown revitalization is going to take us as a community to bring us together, because obviously it's missing something. And it looks horrible in the wide sidewalks, and those things that you could trip on out there, supposedly chairs or whatever they are out there, are horrible. So I think we need to go back and look at this and look at it as a committee and try to make a better project than what it is, because obviously we failed big time on that. So I believe that we need to work on it to make it a better downtown.
Thank you. Mr. Bearse, same question?
Yeah, I'm not happy with downtown either. I think that, I mean, you've seen a common theme up here. You're seeing 3 people that think that's the greatest thing on earth, and or 2 people who think it's the greatest thing on earth, and the 3 of us up here thinking no. And I think that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go drive to the surrounding cities and see what they're doing. I mean, how are we the only ones that are left behind like this? I think it's stale leadership, and I think that do we want to keep the Western theme? On one end of town, we're keeping it, and then on this end, we're tearing it up. I mean, I don't know. The other thing is the way they did the contract, during the middle of the holiday season, all those businesses couldn't get customers to their shops because they were doing construction. Now, why would you ever do construction right in the middle of Christmas season to a cake and cookie shop where she could get no business? You couldn't even get to a parking lot to get to her. And those people should have been contracted, bidded out, so they worked graveyard shift. They don't work during the day where customers go. They should be working 10 at night to 6 in the morning, and that's where that contract should have been bid out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bertone?
Well, the downtown is a mixed bag. As far as the wooden sidewalks, they had to go because of the American Disability Act. The city was being sued, and it was very expensive for the city to keep up those wooden sidewalks, and we had a lot of lawsuits, and it started when we had our farmers market down there with the wooden sidewalks was the problem. We have wider sidewalks because the merchants want to put their displays out in front of their businesses, which they'll be allowed to do. We did make a mistake, and I do agree, we shouldn't have put crepe myrtle trees in, we should have put evergreen trees in, but that was a mistake. And I admit that was a mistake. But there will also be no signage down there. There'll be signs on the sidewalk for the merchants, which they wanted, just not having signs on the side of the building, they wanted signs out in front. And there'll be new signs out in front for the merchants, and this is something. And as far as the wine shop goes, I think the wine shop should have gotten its awning. The vote was 3-2. John Ebner and I voted for the wine shop to get its awning. And that's it.
You got a third vote.
Thank you, Dennis. This is a question that came up in a couple other community forums that I did, candidates forums, a couple other San Gabriel Valley cities. And so, Ryan, I'm going to start with you. 1 minute. San Dimas is becoming more diverse. What will you do to promote that diversity?
Thank you. Diversity is fun. Unfortunately, we didn't have Western Days last year for the first time probably in my lifetime that I know of, that I can remember. But Western Days was something that I think promoted a lot of cultural diversity here in town, and it was always very good to get out there and see those type of things. We have the art festivals, we have the gallery up at the Walker House, my wife and I have stopped by. We have a lot of very cool things here in town that I think lend itself to keeping the cultural arts here. With diversity in town, I think it's important we start to engage folks and get them involved, whether we have salsa dancing over here that my wife would probably love to take with me, or getting more involved in the city birthday, for example. I think these are all great opportunities to have food truck festivals, things of this nature that bring in different cultures and let us celebrate it. And I would support all of those types of activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morris?
I think that we do have a lot of diversity. We have a lot of people who are very active in the community in ways that are not directly with government, but there are a lot of organizations. I happen to be involved with quite a few different people that, you know, with the Christian Arab group. There are groups that unless you have some reason to come in contact with them, they are doing very well. They don't, you know, they don't feel left out. They feel that this is a city that responds to everybody, and I think we do, and I think we need to continue to do that. I know in our Parks and Recreation programs, tremendous diversity of people, everybody in the community participating in those, and I think we're doing a good job. I think we just need to be responsive to everybody, to deal with everybody's needs as they come along. But there are a lot of things happen in a community that the city does not do. The city is not the entire community.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Ramirez.
I love diversity, And I think cultural diversity is wonderful for San Dimas. And in this race, I've been blessed to go out there and meet all kinds of people. And all kinds of people have thought, well, we need to do this or we need to do that. And I think bringing cultural diversity events to this community downtown, celebrating like the Chinese New Year, celebrate the Thai year, or Cinco de Mayo, or Western Day, or any of these things, to bring our community together as citizens, so you can meet your neighbor that you never get to meet because you're working all the time, but come out and meet your neighbors. So I believe those events are wonderful things that bring our community together, culture together, and makes you understand other cultures, and makes us a melting pot, which I love about San Dimas.
Thank you. Mr. Bearse?
Yeah, I think San Dimas actually does a pretty good job in this area. I think we're pretty diverse. I think the city has offers a lot of programs out there for everybody to participate. If you look at that Frontier magazine, you see a lot of programs out there. I think Emma's right on where she says, I think we should do a little bit more city-themed events, and I think that's easy to accomplish. Cinco de Mayo and the various little parties that we could hold downtown, make them like a farmer's market type of thing. And I think the city does well in that area, and I don't see a whole lot other than the fact that the city should be a little bit more transparent and networking so to get more involvement, that's all.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Bearse.
Our city celebrates all the holidays through the Parks and Recreation Department. We have a Martin Luther King Day. We have a Cinco de Mayo. We celebrate Chinese New Year's. And all this is advertised in the Frontier. As far as being diverse, the Festival of Western Arts, for instance, has a Jedediah Smith statue out in front, which recognizes the first European to come through San Dimas. But we also have the mural right in front of this building, right to the side of it, where it celebrates the Indian culture. And we have the four corners of freedom, which celebrate the American Revolution and the revolutionaries that made this country great. So we are diverse. We have these, and we can always do more. There's no question about that. The Senior Club has an international arm to it, where we have different speakers every month, and people from different lands come and tell about their customs. So we're doing our best. I know we can always do more, but I think we're probably way ahead of most cities.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green, same question.
As far as diversity goes, I think people need to be sure and tell your neighbors when something is out there, because we have so much going on in town. The city does an awful lot, but besides the city, we have bike runs, we have the art show in the Walker House, we have a museum put on by the Historical Society. I would invite any of you to come over there, learn more about our history. There's so many different activities going on that the city does. Sometimes it's hard for individual programs to be done, fundraisers like the Seroptimus and all. We need to have fundraisers, but the city does do so much for us that it is sometimes hard to squeeze in one more activity. We do have the rodeo that goes on. We might not have Western days, but the rodeo is a great event. As I say, the art show, the museum, the bike rides that we have, the fun runs, the family fun festivals. There is so much going on in town. But as citizens, you need to be sure that people hear about it and know about it and show up.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. I think for a very unique community like San Dimas, this next question kind of ties into some of the things that you brought up, but I'm going to ask it because I think it's an interesting question. So, Kurt, starting with you, and I'm going to ask it the way it was written, so if you need me to help you out a little bit, we can do that. Is horsekeeping and light ag properties a thing of the past?
I don't know. I think the economics have made it very difficult for horse keeping. There are fewer and fewer people keeping horses because it's so expensive. And that's just the reality. That's one of the reasons that 2 of the stables in town have closed and there are actually recommendations to redevelop. It's very difficult. It's also, having horse trails along sidewalks is a great challenge for the stormwater discharge permit too. that may not be possible to maintain those. There are a lot of changes, but I think it's just the economic change as far as the horse keeping part. Things are changing, and that's regardless of what anybody's doing. We still have a couple of stables in town. The one up in Horse Thief Canyon is doing very well, although it's down even though there are fewer stables around. People just aren't able to afford horses as much as they were in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Ramirez? Sure. Is horse keeping and light ag properties a thing of the past?
I agree with the mayor. I think with economic times today, I mean, most people cannot afford horse keeping, a proper horse keeping, because the horses just aren't just the horse. There's vets and meds and other things that are just very expensive. And when times are hard, we've got to let go. We can't have things that luxury items like that. So I think it's just very difficult in times like this when we have to worry about food on our table and paying our bills. So I agree with the mayor that it's very difficult, and I don't think we would be able to do that in San Dimas because, again, economically, it's not feasible.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Bearse?
Yeah, I think, they're right on. This is a personal preference. If somebody isn't able to afford keeping a horse anymore, then they're not going to do it. And so I think, unfortunately, it is a dying art in our area, and I don't think it's at any fault of the city. What I would be opposed to is allowing overdevelopment of some of these equestrian centers due to selfishness from the owner. But I think that at the end of the day, private property rights, if somebody can't afford it and they see a different vision for their own use of land, there's not a whole lot that the city could do to control that either way. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bearse. Mr. Bertone?
As far as light agriculture, I think that's on its way out simply because the land is too expensive and the owners want to sell the land for housing because of the amount of money they want to get for it. As far as horse keeping, I hope it is not on its way out. I'm against downzoning any property that's for equestrian use to high density or even low density housing that does not allow for horses. I think we need to keep this in the city. The mayor's right. People are not as enthusiastic about horses as they once were, but remember that the city owns the property where the one equestrian center is, and the city encourages the equestrian center, and we did not encourage the other equestrian centers to sell their property because of private property rights. They have the right to do that, and private property rights are upheld by the courts, and you can't stop a person that owns a property from selling the property if they want to sell it. But I am in favor of horse keeping, and I think we should do our best to keep it.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green?
I live on horse property myself. I've never owned a horse, and I don't plan on it, but I love living on the property and having the wildlife that goes along with it. So I'm in favor of horse property, but I also want to say that I was on the California Miss Rodeo state pageant that was held here in town for Miss Rodeo California. And we were having more and more trouble. I was on it from, about 1980 to 2008, a good 10 years. And it was harder and harder to get sponsors that would sponsor our horse activities here in town. So yes, I see it that people are not keeping horses like they used to. They don't help sponsor events like they used to for horses. But yes, I am in favor of keeping horse property as much as we can, but people do have the right to move on and do something else with their property if they want. But that's only if they want to. They don't have to get rid of their horses, and I love having horses around. I love having horses go by my property. They do leave donations in my driveway from time to time.
Thank you, Mrs. Green. Mr. Vienna?
I hope you reported those contributions. Growing up in town, some of my fondest memories are traversing equestrian trails. My parents have horse property, obviously, where I grew up, right near the San Dimas Equestrian Center. And we used to walk behind the KinderCare. For those of you that know it, there's a equestrian trail that goes to San Dimas Canyon Park. With the MS4 water permits, that the mayor and others are discussing come at a cost of $3,000 to $10,000 per day for violation. And this is of great concern. This is something that has to be balanced. I believe in property owners' rights, and I also understand the development side of it. I do think it's important to cherish these moments now. I do think it is a fading trend, but I am supportive of our equestrian trails, including near Oak Valley, hopefully, to get maybe a little bit of an extension up the hill. But I'd like to see that at least another generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. Before we begin our final, basically our closing statements, I have one burning question. Will you release your tax returns?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. No, I think basically we agreed to 1 minute closing statements. I know we've been through, we basically answered a lot. There's still a lot more we can, in fact, if we want to go round 2 and 3, we can go, but I'm just kidding that. But for now, I'm going to start closing statements with you, Mr. Vienna. 1 minute, your closing statement.
You know, growing up in town, I don't know how many of y'all have seen Footloose, but I kind of feel like I'm going up against the Reverend in City Hall because I just want to have a dance here in town. You know, there's a lot of issues that I think we can do a lot better here in our community. It isn't so much about what everyone's done, it's about what we can do. I hope to bring vision and leadership, accountability and honesty and integrity. The bottom line is the council members existing today have served long and they've served well. But I think it is time for change. I think, frankly, I'd love to do it. And I'm not running for sheriff, as some of you may have heard for rumors. And I don't know what other rumors there are out there about me, but I'd be more than happy to talk to each and every one of you. One shift of overtime, as the lieutenant knows, makes a heck of a lot more than we make all year in council. So I guarantee you I'm in this because I love San Dimas and I want to make it better. I'd love your opportunity. I hope for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vienna. Mr. Morris, your closing statement.
I'd like to express my gratitude for the fact I've been able to serve San Dimas as the mayor for 21 years, and that I'll be able to continue serving as the mayor. I realize that in years when there are elections, people have to make up issues if they don't otherwise exist. I think that the reality of the success of San Dimas is actually pretty spectacular. We have the highest per capita sales tax in our region, income. We have a lot of things that are really working very well, and financially this city is in great shape from a business standpoint. For businesses that are here, we have more businesses than any of the cities around us except Glendora. We are increasing the number of businesses at a greater rate than any of them, including Glendora, which is going down. But if you'd like, we have this summary. I had a few of those back there. I didn't expect a crowd like this, but if you'd like to read that, it's only 6 pages. It gives you a lot of good information, and but I appreciate your support for all the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mrs. Ramirez.
I love San Dimas. I've lived here for a long time, and I truly believe in San Dimas. And like the mayor said, I mean, I can't complain about San Dimas because San Dimas is beautiful. But I also am a realist, and we're all adults here. And we realize it's when somebody, like when you're watching TV, and you watch somebody flatline, what do? They yell code blue, and they come with a needle, and boom, they shoot them in the heart and get the pump going. And what does that do? Bring that person back, and it brings vitalization to that person. Well, you know what? We're not flatline, but I'm telling you, we're circling the drain here, and we need to do something about it. So I'm asking you, the community, to look for vision, look for quality of life, and like I said, we bring life and vigor and new vision and hope for this city, and that's what we bring to you, our hard work, our dedication, and our experience from law enforcement. As many of you know, I'm retired law enforcement, and I have a lot of experience, so I want to thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Bearse, your closing statement.
I'm going to put it in simple terms, guys. I think there's two candidates up here that if you like what the city's going and the direction you see, then you vote for them. There's three up here that are going to bring new energy to the council. And listen, these people have done a good job in our city. I'll give them that. They've done it for a long time, though. And what happens is when someone gets stuck in it, doing something for a long time, they become stale. They lose the passion and the energy. And I think tonight you saw the theme, or there's difference of opinions up here. Three different candidates with a new vision and new idea, or the two business the same. And so that's up to you guys. I appreciate your time, and a vote for me is a vote for change and fresh ideas and fresh blood. So thank you for coming out here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bearse. Mr. Bertone, your closing
Yes.
statement.
I would like to thank the people of San Dimas for allowing me to serve them. I consider it an honor and a pleasure. I hope I have earned your trust. The City Council isn't perfect, but you have to remember, to accomplish anything, the City Council has to work together. And then one person can't accomplish anything if you're not willing to work with other people. I said we're not perfect, but we do our best, and I haven't lost my passion for the city. I think we have a fabulous city, and I hope to keep it that way. And there's two areas that I would like to tell you that I'm interested in, of the many. One is law enforcement. I've been endorsed by ALADS. There's 3 sheriffs up here. Only 2 of us have been endorsed by ALADS, and I'm one of them. I've also been endorsed by the fire department. Not the fire department, but the Firemen's Union. I also have received an award from the Sierra Club twice for my efforts to keep open space in San Dimas, in the Northern Foothills, and from the San Gabriel Mountains Forever. I got the Champion Award for trying to have slow density in our Northern Foothills. I'm honored to have the endorsement of all these people, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bertone. Mrs. Green.
To me, experience matters. My passion is San Dimas. I've been volunteering along with a lot of you other people in the audience for over 40 years. I'm dedicated to San Dimas, and I'm well versed in what goes on in San Dimas and our communities next to us. I have volunteered. I'm on the Planning Commission. I've gone to 100% of the Planning Commission meetings since I've been on. That shows dedication. I voluntarily go to the San Dimas City Council meetings. Over the past 10 years, I've gone to 90% of the meetings, and that's in 10 years. I'm quite proud of that. I try to stay on top of what's happening. I'm committed to making the best decisions today for our future for tomorrow. I believe San Dimas is a great place to live and to work. I plan on being here for a long time, and I want to build upon what is great in our city and improve on what needs to be improved. I'm sure we can. My experience in the community and involvement, it makes the difference, and I think that makes me the best candidate for what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our forum. It's never easy to run for public office in any capacity. Please join me in giving these candidates a round of applause.
I appreciate the
I'd like to thank the San Dimas Chamber and the City of San Dimas for allowing us to use this building. Thank you and good night.